The stars looked different from the command bridge of the Zircathian flagship. Admiral Vorthal stood with his forearms clasped behind his back, all four of his yellow eyes fixed on the small blue planet displayed on the main screen. Earth. Such a simple name for their next conquest. "Status report," Vorthal demanded, his voice low and gravelly. "All 9,900 ships are in formation, Admiral," his second-in-command reported. "We will reach Earth's outer defense zone in 6 hours." Vorthal nodded, satisfied. The Zircathian Empire had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. None had offered meaningful resistance. Earth would be no different. "Their technology is primitive," Vorthal said. "They have barely left their own atmosphere. This will be a simple operation." Little did he know how wrong he was. On the far side of the moon, Commander Liza Baker stared at her monitoring screens with growing concern. The lunar outpost was supposed to be a scientific research station, but its true purpose was to serve as an early warning system for Earth. And right now, those warnings were screaming. "Get me Earth Command now," she ordered, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. Her communications officer, a young man named Danny Wilson, worked quickly at his station. "Channel open, Commander." Liza leaned toward the screen. "This is Lunar Outpost Alpha. We have detected a massive fleet approaching from the outer system. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." The face of General Jeff Brown appeared on screen, his expression grim. "How many ships are we talking about, Commander Baker?" "Sir, our sensors are picking up." She paused, checking the readings. Again, over 9,900 vessels. Nothing like we've ever seen before. The silence that followed was deafening. "We're dispatching the Defiance for first contact," General Brown finally said. "Hold your position and continue monitoring." The Defiance was Earth's newest and most advanced spacecraft, though it would hardly impress any spacefaring civilization. Captain Noah Grant stood on its bridge, his experienced eyes studying the tactical display. Beside him, his wife, Dr. Ellen Grant, adjusted the sensors to gather as much data as possible about the approaching fleet. "Any response to our transmissions?" Noah asked. Communications Officer Paul Wright shook his head. "Nothing, Captain. We've tried all frequencies and known protocols." Noah frowned. "Keep trying. We need to establish communication before they reach Earth." Ellen looked up from her station. "Noah, these readings, their ships are powered by something I've never seen before. The energy signatures are off the charts." The Defiance continued its approach, a tiny speck against the vastness of space, heading toward an armada that stretched beyond the limits of human comprehension. Back on Earth, Dr. Susan Miller rushed through the halls of the International Defense Coalition headquarters. In her hand, she clutched a tablet containing information that might change the course of human history. "General Brown," she called out as she entered the command center. "I need to talk to you about the Mariana Project." The general pulled her aside, lowering his voice. "This isn't the time, Doctor." "It's exactly the time," she insisted. "What we found down there, I think it was meant for this, for them." 20 years earlier, a research submarine had discovered something impossible at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, an artifact of clearly non-human origin, predating all known civilization on Earth. The world's governments had kept it secret, while the best scientists studied it, learning little except that it contained immense power and seemed designed as some kind of weapon or shield. "The artifact has been activating on its own for the past 3 hours, Dr. Miller explained. "Ever since the alien fleet entered our solar system, it's responding to them." General Brown's expression darkened. "Get down to the facility, figure out what it does and how we can use it. We might not have much time." In orbit around Mars, Lieutenant Alan Dixon led a small mining operation that served as cover for a military outpost. He was the first to spot the advanced scouts of the alien fleet. "Everyone inside now," he shouted to his team as strange, dart-shaped vessels appeared on the horizon. The 7 men and women rushed into the hidden bunker beneath the mining facility. Dixon sealed the doors and activated their stealth systems. "Central Command, this is Mars Outpost Bravo," he said into his communicator. "We have visual on alien scout ships. They're scanning the surface." The scout ship circled the mining facility, their sensors probing. After several tense minutes, they moved on, apparently satisfied that the outpost held nothing of interest. "That was close," said Engineer Sam Rogers, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Too close," Dixon agreed. "We need to warn the Defiance. These aliens aren't here for friendly conversation." But the warning came too late. As the Defiance approached the front of the alien armada, Captain Grant made one final attempt at communication. "This is Captain Noah Grant of the Earth vessel Defiance. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." For several seconds there was no response. Then, without warning, a beam of intense energy shot from the lead alien ship, striking the Defiance directly. "Shields failing," shouted Officer Wright as alarms blared across the bridge. "Evasive maneuvers," Noah ordered, but the ship's systems were already failing. Ellen grabbed her husband's arm. "The escape pods. We need to get the data back to Earth." Noah nodded grimly. "All hands, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods." As crew members rushed to evacuate, Noah and Ellen downloaded all sensor data to a portable drive. 3 more energy beams struck the Defiance, tearing the ship apart section by section. Noah pushed Ellen into the last functioning escape pod. "Take this," he said, handing her the data drive. "They need to know what we're facing." "I'm not leaving without you," she protested. Another explosion rocked the ship. Noah kissed her quickly. "Yes, you are. Earth needs this information more than it needs me." With a final push, he sealed the escape pod and launched it away from the dying ship. Ellen screamed his name as the pod accelerated away, watching in horror as the Defiance exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The escape pod tumbled through space, its emergency beacon active. Ellen clutched the data drive to her chest, tears floating from her eyes in the zero gravity. On the lunar outpost, Commander Baker watched the destruction of the Defiance with a mixture of horror and rage. "Send word to all Earth defenses," she ordered. "This is not a first contact scenario anymore. This is war." As the alien fleet continued its inexorable approach toward Earth, a faint glow began to emanate from the artifact, deep in the Mariana Trench. Something ancient was awakening, responding to a threat it had been created to counter long ago. The invasion of Earth had begun, but the invaders had no idea what was waiting for them. Ellen Grant's escape pod landed in the Pacific Ocean 200 miles off the coast of California. A rescue team picked her up within an hour. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying, but her grip on the data drive remained firm. She had lost her husband, but she would not let his sacrifice be in vain. At the International Defense Coalition headquarters, Ellen handed the drive to Dr. Susan Miller. The two women had been friends for years, both brilliant in their fields. Now they shared something else, determination to stop the alien invasion. "I'm sorry about Noah," Susan said softly. Ellen nodded, wiping away a tear. "He made sure this data got back to Earth. Now we need to use it." They walked into the command center where General Brown was coordinating Earth's defenses. The large screen showed the alien fleet moving past the moon. Commander Liza Baker had evacuated the lunar outpost just in time. Her shuttle was now on its way back to Earth. "Dr. Grant," General Brown said, "I'm sorry about your husband. We need to know everything you learned about these aliens." Ellen straightened her shoulders. "They call themselves the Zircathians. Their technology is far beyond ours. Their weapons are energy-based, powerful enough to cut through our strongest shields like they weren't even there." She connected the data drive to the main system. Images of the alien ships appeared on screen. "But there's something unusual about their shield configurations," she continued. "They seem to be tuned to deflect specific energy frequencies, ones commonly used across the galaxy. It's like they've never encountered Earth technology before." Dr. Miller stepped forward. "That might give us an advantage. A small one, but still." General Brown looked skeptical. "What kind of advantage could we possibly have against 900 warships?" "The Mariana artifact," Susan said. "I think it was left here by another civilization, maybe one that fought these Zircathians before." On the flagship of the Zircathian fleet, Admiral Vorthal received reports from his scout ships. The small vessel they had destroyed had provided useful information. The humans had minimal space defenses and primitive weapons technology. This would be an easy conquest. Prepare the demonstration, Vorthal ordered. Target their northern ice cap. Show them our power. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, bowed slightly. Is a demonstration necessary, Admiral? They pose no threat. Vorthal's upper eyes narrowed. It is always necessary. Fear makes conquest easier, fewer resources wasted. As the Zircathian fleet approached Earth, the lead ship fired a massive energy beam at the North Pole. The ice cap erupted in steam and fire, melting instantly. Billions of gallons of water poured into the ocean, raising sea levels by several inches in minutes. People around the world watched in horror as news feeds showed the destruction. Panic spread through major cities. Some fled inland while others sought shelter in subway tunnels and basements. At the Mariana Research Facility, Lieutenant Alan Dixon had arrived from Mars just hours earlier. He and his team rode a special elevator down to the ocean floor, where the artifact was housed in a massive underwater base. The artifact glowed with a blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. It was roughly spherical, about the size of a car, covered in strange symbols that no one had been able to translate. It's never done that before, said Sam Rogers, staring at the glowing object. Dr. Miller nodded. It started when the aliens entered our solar system. I think it's responding to them. Ellen studied the symbols with fresh eyes. After seeing the Zircathian ships up close, some of the markings looked familiar. These symbols here, she pointed, they look similar to the markings on the alien ships. Not identical, but related somehow. For the next several hours, the scientists worked frantically to understand the artifact. They connected monitoring equipment, ran tests, and tried various ways to communicate with it. Meanwhile, the Zircathian fleet had taken up positions around Earth. Smaller ships began to descend into the atmosphere, targeting major cities. In New York, people ran screaming as a Zircathian ship the size of a skyscraper hovered over Central Park. In Beijing, another ship positioned itself above the Forbidden City. Similar scenes played out in London, Moscow, Cairo, and other major cities worldwide. They're positioning for ground invasion, General Brown said, watching the tactical displays. We have hours, maybe less. Commander Liza Baker had reached Earth and joined the command center team. Our conventional weapons will barely scratch their ships, she reported. The lunar base fired everything we had as they passed. It did nothing. At the Mariana facility, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. One of the younger scientists, Kevin West, had been running the artifact's energy signature through various filters. Look at this, he said excitedly. When I match the energy frequency to Earth's natural magnetic field, the symbols change. The Bohr markings on the artifact shifted, rearranging themselves into new patterns. It's some kind of interface, Ellen realized. It wants us to communicate with it using Earth's magnetic field. Dr. Miller quickly adjusted their equipment, creating a pulse that matched the planet's magnetic rhythm. The artifact responded immediately, projecting a holographic image into the center of the room. The image showed Earth surrounded by thousands of ships similar to the Zircathian vessels. Then it showed energy rising from the oceans, disabling the ships. The message was clear. The artifact was a weapon, designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of invasion. How do we activate it? Lieutenant Dixon asked. Ellen studied the hologram carefully. It seems to draw power from the ocean itself, thermal energy from deep-sea vents, but we need to create a network. One artifact isn't enough. The hologram shifted again, showing smaller versions of the artifact positioned at key points around the world's oceans. There are more of them, Sam Rogers said in amazement. Dr. Miller nodded slowly. The deep-sea mapping project found unusual energy readings at several locations, but we thought they were just natural phenomena. They must be more artifacts. They sent their findings to General Brown. Within minutes, submarines and underwater drones were dispatched to the coordinates, where the other artifacts might be located. Above them, the first Zircathian ground troops had begun to land. Soldiers in strange armor with powerful weapons moved through the streets of major cities, meeting resistance from military forces that barely slowed them down. Time was running out for humanity. The artifacts were their only hope. In the command center, General Brown received reports of alien troops landing on every continent. "We need more time," he said grimly. "Whatever these artifacts can do, we need it now." Ellen looked at Dr. Miller. "We don't have all the artifacts yet, but maybe we can activate the one we have. It might buy us the time we need." As the two women raced back to the Mariana facility, the Zircathian Admiral Vorthal prepared for his final victory speech. Soon, Earth would be another conquest for the Empire, its resources theirs to exploit, its people slaves to serve their needs. But deep beneath the ocean, humanity was about to reveal its secret weapon. The ocean seemed unusually calm as the small submarine descended toward the Mariana facility. Ellen Grant and Dr. Susan Miller sat quietly, each lost in her own thoughts. The fate of the entire world now rested on their understanding of an alien artifact left behind by an unknown civilization. "Do you think we can really make it work?" Ellen asked, breaking the silence. Susan nodded slowly. "We have to. There's no other option." Below them, the underwater research base glowed with blue light visible from miles away. The artifact was becoming more active by the hour. Lieutenant Alan Dixon met them at the docking bay. "We've located 3 more artifacts," he reported. "Teams are en route to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the Tonga Trench, and the Arctic Ocean." "What about the others?" Susan asked. "Still searching. But there's a problem." Dixon led them through the facility to the main laboratory. "The Zircathians have noticed the energy signatures. They're sending ships to investigate." In the lab, the artifact pulsed with intense blue light. The symbols on its surface shifted constantly, like living things. "It's trying to communicate," Ellen said, approaching it slowly. "It's been waiting for this moment for thousands of years." Sam Rogers looked up from his monitoring station. "Energy levels are off the charts. Whatever it's planning to do, it's getting ready now." Ellen placed her hand on the artifact's surface. The blue light flowed over her fingers, warm and somehow alive. "It needs a command, a starting signal." Above them, across the world, the invasion continued. The Zircathian troops moved through cities with ruthless efficiency. Earth's military forces fought back, but their weapons did little against the alien armor and shields. In New York, a group of soldiers led by Sergeant Joe Miller made a surprising discovery. When they fired at exactly the same spot on an alien's armor repeatedly, the 5th or 6th shot would penetrate. "Their shields have a recharge delay," Miller shouted into his radio. "Hit the same spot multiple times." The information spread quickly among Earth's defenders. It wasn't much, but it gave them a fighting chance against the ground troops. In orbit, Admiral Vorthal received concerning reports. The human resistance was becoming more effective, and strange energy readings were appearing in their oceans. "Send scout ships to investigate these energy sources," he ordered. "Destroy whatever you find." Back in the Mariana facility, Ellen and Susan worked frantically to understand how to activate the artifact network. The holographic images showed the artifacts working together, creating some kind of planetary defense system. "It's like they form a web," Susan said, studying the patterns. "Each one amplifies the others." Kevin West, the young scientist who had discovered the magnetic frequency connection, called them over to his computer. "I think I found something. The artifacts don't just respond to Earth's magnetic field. They can manipulate it." Ellen's eyes widened. "That's it. Earth's magnetic field surrounds the entire planet. If we can use that as a conductor..." A violent explosion shook the facility. Warning alarms blared throughout the base. "We're under attack!" Lieutenant Dixon shouted. "Zircathian ships are firing on the ocean surface above us." Commander Liza Baker's voice came through on the emergency channel. "Mariana team, this is Earth Command. Zircathian vessels are targeting all the artifact locations. We're trying to draw them off, but our weapons aren't effective." Ellen looked at the artifact, now pulsing faster than ever. "We need to activate it now, before they destroy the others." Susan grabbed her arm. "We don't fully understand it yet. What if it does something we don't expect?" We don't have a choice, Ellen said firmly. If we do nothing, we lose everything. She placed both hands on the artifact and closed her eyes, focusing on the rhythm of its energy. The blue light grew brighter, enveloping her completely. In Ellen's mind, images flashed rapidly. An ancient civilization, much like humans but more advanced, fighting against the Zircathians thousands of years ago. They had won by using Earth, itself as a weapon, channeling its natural energies through the artifacts. I know what to do, she whispered. The facility shook again as another explosion hit closer. Part of the ceiling collapsed, water beginning to spray through the cracks. We're out of time, Dixon shouted. This place is going to breach. Ellen didn't move, her hands still on the artifact. Earth's magnetic field, the oceans, they're all connected. The artifacts use that connection. She looked up, her eyes now glowing with the same blue light as the artifact. We need to send a pulse through all the facilities at once, a synchronized signal. Susan quickly relayed the information to the other teams. On my mark, all facilities activate your artifacts using the magnetic frequency pattern we sent you. The Rio. Water was ankle deep now as more cracks appeared in the facility walls. Dixon and his team worked to seal them, but it was a losing battle. 3 minutes until complete breach, Sam Rogers reported grimly. Above them, Zircathian ships continued to fire into the ocean, trying to reach the facility hidden below. All teams report ready, Susan said. Waiting for your signal. Ellen took a deep breath. Now. At her command, scientists at each artifact location sent the activation signal. The blue light from the Mariana artifact suddenly shot upward, passing through the ocean and facility ceiling as if they weren't there. Similar beams of light erupted from the other discovered artifacts around the world. The beams reached into the sky, connecting with Earth's magnetic field, which began to glow and pulse visibly from space. On the Zircathian flagship, Admiral Vorthal watched in alarm as the planet below them lit up with strange energy patterns. What is this? He demanded. Scan it immediately. Before his scientists could respond, the energy pulse reached their ships. Every system on board suddenly failed. Ships closest to the energy beam simply shut down completely, drifting powerless in orbit. Emergency power, Vorthal shouted, but nothing happened. Even their backup systems were dead. Across Earth, the same scene played out. Zircathian ground troops suddenly froze as their armor and weapons stopped working. Their ships fell from the sky, most managing controlled crashes that left them intact but useless. In the Mariana facility, now flooding rapidly, Ellen collapsed as the artifact dimmed slightly. It worked, she whispered as Dixon caught her. But it's not enough. The artifacts need time to recharge, and we only affected the ships close to Earth. Susan was already on the communication system. All personnel evacuate immediately. I repeat, evacuate all underwater facilities now. Dixon helped Ellen toward the escape pods as water reached their waists. What happens now? He asked. Ellen looked back at the artifact, still glowing but less intensely. Now we have a chance. A small one, but better than none. As their escape pod shot toward the surface, Ellen watched the facility disappear beneath them, the blue glow of the artifact, still visible through the dark water. The first battle had been won. Nearly 300 Zircathian ships had been disabled, and their ground forces were temporarily neutralized. But more than 9,600 ships remained in orbit, and Admiral Vorthal was not one to accept defeat easily. The war for Earth had only just begun. Admiral Vorthal slammed his fist against the control panel. 300 ships disabled in a single attack. It was unthinkable. In 17 planetary conquests, the Zircathian Empire had never suffered such a loss. Status report, he demanded. His second-in-command Krell approached cautiously. The disabled ships are completely powerless. No communication, no life support, no weapons. The affected ground troops are in the same condition. How did they do this? Vorthal hissed. Their technology is primitive. Unknown, Admiral. Our sensors detected energy patterns unlike anything in our records. It appears to be coming from devices hidden in their oceans. Vorthal's 4 eyes narrowed. Then, we will destroy their oceans. If necessary, prepare the remaining fleet for a full assault. Target every major body of water on the planet. On Earth, the mood at International Defense Coalition headquarters was cautiously hopeful. For the first time since the invasion began, they had scored a victory against the overwhelming alien force. Ellen Grant, still weak from her connection with the artifact, sat in the command center with Dr. Susan Miller and Commander Liza Baker. General Brown paced in front of the large screens showing the disabled Zircathian ships. "How long until the artifacts recharge?" the general asked. Susan checked her tablet. "Based on the energy readings, at least 12 hours, maybe longer. And the aliens still have over 9,000 ships," Liza added grimly. Ellen studied the tactical display. "They'll be more cautious now. They know we can hurt them. That gives us time to find the rest of the artifacts." "We've located 3 more," General Brown said. "Teams are en route to the South Pacific, the Mediterranean, and the Indian Ocean. But the aliens are searching too. It's a race." Lieutenant Alan Dixon and his team had been assigned to recover a Zircathian scout ship that had crashed relatively intact near the coast of Australia. If they could understand the alien technology, they might find another way to fight back. The crashed ship lay half buried in sand on a remote beach. Dixon approached it carefully, leading a team of engineers and scientists. "No signs of life," reported Sam Rogers, scanning the vessel. "Systems appear completely dead." They found a hatch on the side of the sleek, dart-shaped craft. After some effort, they managed to force it open. Inside, the alien technology was unlike anything they had seen before. "Look at this," said one of the engineers, pointing to what appeared to be the control center. "No physical controls. They must interface directly with the ship somehow." In a compartment at the rear of the ship, they made a surprising discovery. A Zircathian crew member, still alive but badly injured. The alien was tall and thin, with 4 arms and 4 large yellow eyes. Its skin was pale blue and seemed to shimmer slightly, almost like it was covered in tiny scales. It spoke, the sounds harsh and clicking. Dixon stepped back, unsure how to respond. To everyone's surprise, the alien switched to broken English. "Your planet, different. Others warned us. We not listen." Dixon knelt beside the injured alien. "You speak our language? Study many worlds. Learn communications." The alien coughed, a strange rattling sound. "My name, Krell, 2nd rank." "Why are you attacking us?" Dixon asked. "Resources, position, empire, always expand. But your world, protected, ancient enemy, left defenses." This confirmed what they had suspected about the artifacts. They had been left by a civilization that had fought the Zircathians long ago. "Your ships," Dixon said. "They have a weakness, don't they? Something to do with our planet's magnetic field." Krell's eyes widened slightly. "How? You know this? Your weapons should not affect us. Unless..." The alien seemed to realize something. The Guardians. They were here. Back at the Coalition headquarters, Ellen had been studying the data from the artifact activation. Something about the energy pattern seemed familiar. "The pulse that disabled their ships," she said suddenly. "It's not just connected to Earth's magnetic field. It's at a specific frequency that disrupts their technology." Susan looked up from her work. "Like an electromagnetic pulse, but targeted specifically to their systems?" "Exactly. And if we could generate that frequency artificially..." The 2 women shared a look of understanding. They might not need to wait for the artifacts to recharge. If they could recreate the disruptive frequency, they could build weapons that would work against the Zircathian technology. Ellen's phone buzzed with a message from Dixon. He quickly explained their discovery of the injured alien and what it had revealed. "The Guardians," Ellen repeated. "That must be what the aliens called the civilization that left the artifacts. As they worked to develop new weapons based on their discoveries, the Zircathian fleet regrouped. Admiral Vorthal had changed his strategy. Instead of a direct assault, he ordered his ships to maintain a higher orbit, beyond the range of the artifact pulse. "Begin planetary bombardment," he commanded. "Target their major population centers from maximum range." Energy beams rained down from space, striking cities around the world. Millions fled in panic as buildings crumbled and fires spread. At a secret military base in the Nevada desert, Ellen and Susan worked with a team of engineers to modify Earth's defense systems. They had less than an hour before the alien bombardment would reach North America. "If we can reconfigure the satellite network to emit the disruptive frequency," Ellen explained, "we might be able to create a shield that will protect at least part of the planet." The work was challenging. They had to reprogram dozens of military and communication satellites to emit a synchronized pulse at exactly the right frequency. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Dixon had managed to extract more information from the injured Krell. The alien seemed almost relieved to share what he knew, as if he had doubts about the invasion all along. "Fleet Command, Central System," Krell explained weakly. "All ships, connected. Disable flagship, affect all." Dixon relayed this critical information to headquarters. If they could somehow get to the flagship and plant a device that emitted the disruptive frequency, they might be able to affect the entire fleet at once. It was a desperate plan, but they were running out of options. As energy beams from the Zircathian fleet approached North America, Ellen and Susan completed their modifications to the satellite network. "Ready on your command," Susan said, her finger hovering over the activation button. Ellen took a deep breath. "Activate now." Around the world, satellites changed their broadcast frequency. A shimmering dome of energy formed over parts of North America. Just as the alien beam struck, the energy weapons scattered harmlessly against the shield. In the Coalition Command Center, cheers erupted as they watched the defense work. "It's holding," General Brown said in amazement. Commander Baker studied the readings. "But only over North America. We don't have enough satellites to cover the whole planet." Ellen's voice came through on the communication system. "We need to take the fight to them. We need to get to that flagship." General Brown nodded grimly. "I think I know how we might do that." He turned to the room full of military leaders and scientists. "We're going to capture one of their ships and use it to get our people on board that flagship. We need volunteers for what might be a one-way mission." Lieutenant Dixon's voice responded immediately from Australia. "Sir, I already have a ship, and I have someone who can tell us how to fly it." The captured Zircathian scout ship rose shakily from the Australian beach. Lieutenant Alan Dixon sat in what they had determined was the pilot's position, his hands placed on two glowing panels. Beside him, the injured alien Krell instructed him in halting English. "Focus mine on movement." Ship responds to thought. Dixon concentrated, thinking about lifting higher, moving forward. The ship responded, climbing into the night sky. "It's working," Sam Rogers said from behind him. "I can't believe it's actually working." Their small team included 4 soldiers, 2 engineers, and Dr. Susan Miller, who had flown in from Nevada to join the mission. In her bag was a device they called the Disruptor, a small but powerful emitter designed to produce the same frequency as the artifacts, but amplified to affect a larger area. Their mission was simple but nearly impossible. Fly the alien ship to the Zircathian flagship, sneak aboard, plant the Disruptor in the central command system, and escape, all while the remaining 9,600 alien ships were on high alert. "We have one advantage," Susan reminded them as they ascended toward space. "They won't expect one of their own ships to be a threat." Krell, strapped into a makeshift seat, looked at the humans with his 4 yellow eyes. "Admiral Vorthal, very cautious now. All ships being checked. Then we'll have to be convincing," Dixon said grimly. In orbit, the situation had grown desperate. The satellite shield protected North America, but the rest of the world remained vulnerable. The Zircathian bombardment had devastated cities across Asia, Europe, and South America. Millions were dead or homeless. At Coalition headquarters, Ellen, Grant worked with Commander Liza Baker to coordinate Earth's remaining defenses. The artifacts had begun to recharge but would not be ready for another full activation for several hours. "We've lost contact with the Mediterranean artifact team," Liza reported. "The Zircathians found it before our people did." Ellen's face was pale with exhaustion, but her eyes remained determined. "We still have 5 active artifacts. Once they're fully charged, we can hit them again. We just need to hold out until then." General Brown entered the command center, his uniform dusty, from recent travels between bunkers. "Dixon's team has launched. They're on their way to the flagship." Ellen looked up at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. The flagship was enormous, at least 10 times larger than any other ship. Noah always said that the bigger they are, the harder they fall, she said softly, thinking of her husband. As their captured scout ship approached the Zircathian fleet, Dixon received an incoming communication. Krell quickly instructed him how to respond. "Use hand on right panel. Think response code." Dixon placed his hand on the panel as instructed. Krell whispered a series of sounds that Dixon tried to visualize in his mind. After a tense moment, the communication ceased. "They accept in our code," Krell said. "Say we damaged, returning for repair." The small ship continued toward the massive flagship. As they approached, the true scale of the vessel became apparent. It was like a floating city, with countless lights and sections visible through its semi-transparent hull. "That thing is at least 5 miles long," Sam whispered in awe. Susan checked the disruptor one last time. "Remember, we need to reach the central command system. According to Krell, it's located in the core of the ship." They docked in one of the flagship's many landing bays. The team prepared to disembark, putting on captured Zircathian armor to disguise themselves. Krell, too weak to join them, would remain with the ship. "Ship network can guide you," he told them. "Touch panels. Ask for directions. But hurry. Admiral, planning final attack soon." On Earth, the artifacts had recharged to 60% capacity. Ellen made a difficult decision. "We can't wait for full power," she told General Brown. "We need to activate them now, while Dixon's team is on the flagship. The pulse might not disable all their ships, but it will cause confusion. Give our team a better chance." The general nodded grimly. "Do it." Ellen sent the command to the remaining artifact teams around the world. Beams of blue energy shot into the sky once more, connecting with Earth's magnetic field. The pulse was weaker than before, but still powerful enough to affect the closest Zircathian ships. Aboard the flagship, Dixon's team had made it halfway to the core when the lights flickered. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. "They've activated the artifacts," Susan said. "We need to move faster." They hurried through the corridors, following Krell's instructions to access the ship's internal transport system. It was like a series of floating platforms that moved through transparent tubes running throughout the vessel. As they neared the core, they encountered more Zircathian crew members. Most were too busy responding to the crisis to pay attention to them in their stolen armor, but one officer stopped them. It spoke in the harsh Zircathian language. Dixon froze, not understanding. Sam Rogers, thinking quickly, touched a nearby panel and projected an image of the ship's core, making urgent gestures. The officer hesitated, then hurried away. "That was close," Dixon muttered as they continued forward. The core of the flagship was a massive chamber filled with swirling energy. In the center, a crystalline structure pulsed with power. Around it, dozens of Zircathians worked at various stations. "That's it," Susan whispered. "The central command system. But how do we get to it with all these aliens around?" Dixon looked up, noticing maintenance tunnels running above the main floor. "Through there, we can drop the disruptor from above." Using their stolen armor's enhanced strength, they climbed into the tunnel system and crawled toward a position directly above the crystal core. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Vorthal received reports of another energy pulse from Earth. More ships had been disabled, but the effect was weaker this time. "They cannot maintain their defense," he said with satisfaction. "Prepare all remaining ships for the final assault. We will burn their world to ash and rebuild it for the Empire." As Dixon's team positioned themselves above the core, Susan prepared the disruptor. Once we activate this, we'll have about 2 minutes to get back to our ship before it affects all systems, including our stolen vessel. Dixon nodded. Everyone ready? We drop it on my mark. Before he could give the signal, the maintenance tunnel shook violently. Part of the ceiling gave way, sending Sam Rogers tumbling to the floor of the core chamber below. The Zircathians turned immediately, weapons raised. Now! Dixon shouted. Susan activated the disruptor and dropped it directly into the crystal core. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The crystal began to pulse with conflicting energy patterns. The disruptor's frequency spread through the ship's systems like a virus. Dixon and the team jumped down, firing their stolen weapons to clear a path to Sam. They pulled him to his feet and ran for the exit as chaos erupted around them. Back to the ship. Move! Dixon ordered. They raced through corridors now filled with confused and panicking aliens. The flagship systems were failing in cascading patterns, lights flickering and doors opening and closing randomly. When they finally reached the landing bay, their stolen scout ship was surrounded by Zircathian guards. We'll never get through them, one of the soldiers said. Dixon looked around desperately for another option. There, he pointed to a larger transport vessel. We take that one instead. They fought their way to the transport ship, losing 2 of their team in the process. As they boarded, Susan checked her watch. 30 seconds until complete system failure. Dixon jumped into the pilot seat, placing his hands on the control panels as Krell had taught him. The ship lifted off just as the disruptor reached full power. Throughout the flagship, systems shut down completely. The effect spread to nearby ships, then to the entire fleet as the command signal failed. From Earth, Ellen watched in amazement as ship after ship went dark. The Zircathian fleet drifted powerless in orbit, their weapons and engines dead. They did it, she whispered. Dixon's stolen transport ship, launched moments before the complete shutdown, was the only vessel still moving among the dead fleet. As they descended toward Earth, they could see the disabled alien ships beginning to fall from orbit, burning up in the atmosphere or crashing into the ocean. Of the 9,900 ships that had come to conquer Earth, only 117 had been far enough away to avoid the cascade failure triggered by the disruptor. Those ships, seeing the fate of their fleet, immediately retreated to the outer solar system. 3 years later, Ellen Grant stood on a platform overlooking the rebuilt San Francisco Bay. Beside her was Lieutenant Dixon, now General Dixon, commander of Earth's new Space Defense Force. The last of the artifacts is fully integrated into our planetary defense system, Dixon reported. If they ever come back, we'll be ready. Ellen nodded, looking up at the sky where construction platforms were building Earth's first true warships, using technology reverse-engineered from the fallen Zircathian vessels. They'll come back, she said quietly. Maybe not tomorrow or next year, but someday. And when they do, we'll be waiting. Somewhere in deep space, Admiral Vorthal, one of the few survivors of the Earth disaster, stood before the Zircathian High Council, still trying to explain how a primitive world had defeated their mighty fleet. They were protected, he insisted. The Guardians left their technology there. We were not fighting humans alone. The Council listened in silence, then rendered their judgment.